So this is just going to be a quick video on like generalized setup basics, nothing too advanced, but consider this setup for dummies. I got asked by a subscriber, how do I approach making a setup? So I'll quickly walk through you how I at least do it myself. We'll pick a track that kind of has a little bit of everything. Let's go with Sebring. And we'll get rid of the AI just for having the track be completely clear here. All right. So we'll walk through kind of what each of these things do to the car and when best to utilize some of these as opposed to maybe using others and why. I think it's better to teach someone than it is to just tell them where to buy a setup. I think if you can teach someone, they're going to just make their own. And through trial and error and through experience, you'll get very good at it. And a setup made by you with proper understanding is always going to be better than a setup you buy because it's going to suit your style. It's going to suit your driving style. And that's always going to be best. So let's just go through the basics here. So obviously wing angle is your arrow, okay? So if you feel like if you're on a track and there's no really big long straight that's going to really punish you in terms of how fast you can reach your top end speed, more arrow is likely going to be better than less. So Sebring has some fast sweeping corners, doesn't really have any majorly overly long straights besides the back straight and the front straight, which aren't huge. So that's going to tell me I can probably benefit from higher arrow than less arrow. Do I need it maxed right out? Probably not. Do I need it really low? Definitely not. But I'm probably going to benefit from it being slightly higher than it lower. And we'll get into that later. So your rebound dampers, these control like weight transfer. And not just like side-to-side weight transfer, like when you come on throttle, when you hit the brake, that kind of thing. So your rebounds, softer rebounds are going to activate your tires sooner and put more force on the mechanical grip demand of your tires over the aero grip. So this being softer through the rebounds will make your tires heat quicker, which is good sometimes, but can be bad if you overuse it because you might just push your tires way outside of the operational window way too soon. So just play around with these, experiment with them. Slow bump, fast bump. This is how much compression is being done to the suspension when it's going over an unstable surface. So sometimes you want it to slow down the compression a lot, other times you don't. So again, experiment with these things, but understand what they're doing. So toe on the rear is going to give you straight line stability, but it's going to give you a lot of understeer. So usually on beginner setups, you got a lot of toe. As you get more and more comfortable, knock it down. You don't need to go into the negative, but try to keep as little toe on the rear as possible. You're going to have a much more snappy, responsive car because of it. We're doing GT3 here just because I'm assuming that's what you're driving. Most people do. But again, if you need more like specialized information on setups, just ask. Camber is something a lot of people abuse and think it's just going to give you the best turn-in ever. It's going to give you more responsive turn-in, yes, but remember, you're sacrificing contact patch. Like you're removing the contact patch of the tire by angling it to give you camber. Now, it's good and bad, obviously. It can generate more heat in the tire, but it also can allow the car to lose grip from the road a little bit easier. So play around with it. Again, understand it. Toe in on the front, again, will help you be able to turn in. Like the car will respond faster, but too much of this, again, will overheat the front tires and you'll lose rotation a lot sooner than if you just knock this back and earned the rotation normally without depending on so much negative toe angle for the car to respond really quickly for you. So those are all the basics I would focus on, are those types of things. There's a lot of things here we're not covering, but those are the basics. We're only talking about the basics here. So preload. What this is think of it as the required amount of torque before each tire at the rear starts spinning at a different rate of speed. So if we have this lower, it's not going to take as much torque for the rear tires to spin at a different rate of speed. Now, that can be good because it can help you get a much faster exit out of a corner, but it can also be bad because if you're on like a bumpy surface and your tires are spinning at different rates of speed at the rear, you're going to lose the car. It's going to just slide right out. You're also going to get differential chatter, which is going to slow your progression to your top end speed on the straights or through any section that doesn't have a completely smooth surface. So on tracks like Sebring, generally you want to run a very high preload. Tracks like Monza, even though they're similar in design, you want to run almost no preload because Monza's smooth, very smooth surface. So there's not as many ways to experience the downsides of running a low preload on Monza. Whereas if we were to run a low preload on Sebring through Sunset, it will completely destroy our lap time if we can even survive it for any type of gains that it may give us through the track. So a higher preload is always better on Sebring. But if I'm on a track where I feel like it's fairly smooth surface, I'm doing a lot of the rotation off throttle, I'm going to lower my preload. Power and coast is somewhat similar. This is something, again, you want to read and understand. Generally, you want more power or coast. Don't have them like balanced. Some setups in this game will have them like 50-50. I generally like to run more power than coast, but this is, again, something that is not going to be written in stone all the time. This can change a lot depending on the track and your setup needs and your driving style. So, again, you can look over at the tooltips here, and it'll tell you exactly what these things do. So what I'm going to tell you to do is understand these things. Don't try to take it all in at once. Focus on the most basics and the easiest ones to see a result from, right? Then you can really start to understand and see what it's doing to the car and how you're benefiting from it. Something cool this game does that other sims don't do, at least to my knowledge, I haven't seen in iRacing, I haven't seen in Le Mans. They have a very basic version of this, but you can alter all of your gears in almost every car. I don't know how realistic it is, but it's awesome. So your final drive first, all this can be altered. So your final drive is like how short or long your overall gear stack will be. So you can run a short gear stack or a long gear stack, but either way, you can then also alter every individual gear. That is very helpful. This is the only part that I mess around with. I know the individual who asked me doesn't have as high end of a wheel, but this is the only part I mess with. For like a GT3, somewhere around Sebring, I'm going to want maybe a 1.3, 1.5 steering rack rate. I'm going to want it to be a little stiffer, and I don't want too much damping. So like that would be something I would run right there for this. The last is roll bars, but we're going to load into the car to discuss roll bars. So your roll bars are another way to control the stiffness or the softness of your suspension. Roll bars are things that you can adjust in the car that will alter the feel. So a stiffer roll bar is going to allow for less travel independently across your suspension from wheel to wheel. So if you're having a stiffer roll bar, there's going to be hardly any independent movement. So you have a very stable aero platform. And when you have a very stable aero platform, you don't get much aero disruption, which means you get more straight line speed because of it. So generally, you want to run a softer roll bar at first, so your tires are moving independently, they're generating heat, you're getting that mechanical grip down onto the ground, right? So for like maybe a lap, 2 laps, you're going to want to run a stiffer roll bar setup. Now some cars like stiffer roll bar in the front and a softer in the rear. Other cars like softer in the front, stiffer in the rear. Every car is going to be different. So again, like let's say we're just doing a lap. Now I'm going to want my roll bars softer on my out lap, and my first lap, I'm wanting those tires to be traveling a little more independently so we can generate that tire temperature and get that grip down onto the track from our tires. Once that happens, then I want to start to remove some of that demand on the tires and the mechanical grip load and start stiffening my anti-roll bars. Because once I've got that grip on the tires, if we don't then stiffen our anti-roll bars, we're going to continue to place an extreme demand on the mechanical grip of the tires. We will overheat the tires and we will overload them and push them outside of their operational window. So it's very important that you are aware of this. So as soon as your tires begin to get grippy and you feel like you've got that grip underneath you from your tires, then you want to start stiffening up your roll bars, giving yourself a more stabilized aero platform, allowing less aerodynamic disruption, and therefore getting faster lap time because of it. Now, not only are you going to get faster lap time because of that, you're going to keep your tires in their operational window more, like for a longer period of time. You're going to extend their performance window, and you're going to get the most out of them, and you're going to get fastest laps for as long as possible before your tires eventually give out. Managing your roll bars is very important. Usually, only hypercars can have your roll bars adjusted in the car as you're driving. In this game, pretty much everything has roll bars that you can adjust in car. So take full advantage of that. So see all this bumpy surface here, right? See the car bumping up and down? So if we had a low preload setting and we're going over this bumpy surface, those tires would be jumping up and down, and because the preload would be lower, it would be telling those tires to spin at different rates of speed, and as we were going over those bumps, that would be happening, and that would cause differential chatter, which again slows us in our acceleration to top end speed. It would also allow for the rear of the car to become unstable, because as those tires begin to spin at different rates of speed and we're going over bumps, that can cause the car to kick out. So that's kind of my approach to the very generalistic basics of a setup. But if you can just focus on this, just focus on the basics, even just call this like setups for dummies, and you can really start to learn how these things work and interact with the car and the track. Not only are you going to start to understand setups, you're going to have such a better understanding of the car underneath of you, what it's doing at any given moment. Then you're really going to start to be able to bring lap time out of the car, because you're having a much deeper understanding of what is going on underneath of you. You're not just driving around. So I hope that helps. And again, if you need any other help with setups, if you have any other questions regarding coaching, just ask me and I will do my best to get a video up for it. I'm not anywhere near the best. I'm at best a top 5% driver in the sims like Le Mans and iRacing. But I know enough that I can help people who are just getting into this hobby and maybe speed up your ability to improve and enjoy it a little bit more than what I had. Figuring this all out with a lot of trial and error and some good people helping me along the way. So, see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. God bless. And see you out on the track.